Cinderella. This is the story of Cinderella. Once upon a time, there was a family formed by a dad, a mom, and a beautiful girl. For many years, every one of them was very happy, till the day the mother died and she had to go to heaven. After a while, the father remarried with a very mean lady who became the girl's stepmother. A little while after that, the father also died, and the girl had to live with her stepmother and her 2 daughters. Since then, the girl was forced to work very hard, and as she was always dirty and covered with cinders, she was nicknamed Cinderella. Cinderella was in charge of every chore in the house. She cleaned, swept, and kept the house tidy while her stepmother and stepsisters treated her really bad. One day, an invitation from the king to attend a ball in the palace arrived to the house. Every family on town had to attend, since it was time for the prince to get a girlfriend. The stepmother dressed her 2 daughters with beautiful dresses for the ball and sent Cinderella to do more house chores. Cinderella swiftly finished all the chores she was sent to do, but when she finished, it was already too late. Everyone had gone to the ball, so she sat on a stool and cried in despair. Suddenly next to her appeared a fairy who greeted her kindly. "Hello, Cinderella. I am your fairy godmother. Why are you so sad?" And Cinderella replied, "Because I couldn't go to the ball and I've got nothing to wear." Then the fairy cast a spell and dressed Cinderella with a beautiful dress and turned a pumpkin into a carriage, turned the dog into a person, and she turned the little mice into horses. And just before the girl was off to the ball, she said, "Cinderella, you must remember that you have to come home at midnight, because the spell will break down then, and everything will go back to normal." Cinderella arrived at the palace, and everyone looked at her in astonishment. The prince asked her to dance and fell in love with her. Suddenly, the clock struck midnight, and Cinderella ran off home so quickly that a shoe fell on the way. The prince couldn't stop her, but he did find the glass shoe that fell off. The next day, the prince announced to the town that he would marry the girl who would fit into the glass shoe. When the prince's envoys arrived to the stepmother's house for them to try on the shoe, the lady locked up Cinderella in a closet so she wouldn't be able to try it. But the mice, who were friends with Cinderella, looked for the key and opened the door. Then, when Cinderella finally was going to try the shoe, the stepmother broke it. Cinderella searched for the other shoe, and when everyone saw it, they realized that she was the girl at the ball. The envoys took Cinderella to the palace, and when the prince saw her, he fell in love with her. Finally, Cinderella and the prince got married and lived happily ever after. The end.
Little Red Riding Hood and the Wolf. This is the story of Little Red Riding Hood and the Wolf. Once upon a time, there was a little girl who lived in a house in the forest. As she wore a Red Riding Hood, she was called Little Red Riding Hood. One day, her mother made a food basket for her grandma, who lived on the other side of the forest and was very sick. Little Red Riding Hood took the basket and went to her grandma's house. On the way, she found a wolf who asked her, "Hello, Little Red Riding Hood. What are you doing in this dangerous forest?" And she replied, "I'm going to my sick grandma's house." Then the wolf said, "Go this way, it's shorter." And while Little Red Riding Hood went that way, the wolf took a shortcut and arrived faster to Grandma's house. When Grandma saw the wolf, She ran away and locked herself in the closet. Then the wolf came in, took the lady's clothes, and dressed as her. Quickly, he got into the bed and waited for Little Red Riding Hood to arrive. When Little Red Riding Hood came in, she greeted her grandmother. "Hello, Grandma, how are you?" And the disguised wolf replied, "Very well, Little Red Riding Hood." Little Red Riding Hood saw that her grandma was very different, so she said, Grandma, why do you have such big hands?" And the wolf replied, "To hug you better." And Little Red Riding Hood asked, Grandma, why do you have such big ears?" "To hear you better." And Little Red Riding Hood asked again, Grandma, why do you have such big teeth?" And the wolf replied, "To eat you better." Then Little Red Riding Hood started to scream, and a hunter who was nearby heard her and came to her rescue. He saw the wolf and shot him. Boom, boom! And Wolf got scared, ran out, and never came back. Little Red Riding Hood took her grandma out of the closet, hugged her, and helped her get in bed. And gave her the food basket she brought from home. And everyone lived happily ever after. The end.